Good afternoon and welcome to the Governance and Operations Committee meeting held this Monday, January 22, 2024, here in the committee room at Trail City Hall. Members of the public can be present in the council committee room during these meetings. Alternatively, public members can also observe the meeting via Zoom. The Zoom link is included within the agendas that are posted on the city's website. This meeting will also be recorded and published to the city's YouTube site. Mayor Jones and Councillor Butler send their regrets, and I will be acting mayor and chairing this meeting. I'd like to welcome Erica Crest, the Executive Director of the Trail and District Chamber of Commerce, and Bill Wenman, a consultant and past Vice President of the Chamber, to address item 1.1 on our agenda, and that is a delegation presentation. So I will turn the floor over to Ms. Crest and Mr. Wenman.
Thank you so much. Thank you, council and city staff to welcome us and allow us to do this presentation, which is circling around our ask for core funding. So as the next slide will show, I'd like to highlight a couple of the Trail and District Chamber of Commerce functions, and within that, I also like to highlight that the Trail and District Chamber of Commerce works under the BC Chamber of Commerce, and BC Chamber works under the National Canadian Chamber of Commerce. So some of our functions, as much as they are local initiatives, they are also in alignment with provincial and federal functions. So first of all, I'd like to highlight that the Chamber of Commerce is an economic development driver, supporting small and medium-sized businesses and enterprises, which is over 95% of all of our local business community. Just like our region is no different from any other rural region and areas of BC, in that over 85% of the small and medium-sized businesses are developed, owned, and operated by locals. And I think that it's a very important note to take on that. Your Chamber of Commerce retention rate is over 90%. And this rate is way above industry average, which yields to the highly effective engagement strategy that your chamber employs. Most small and medium-sized enterprises have no corporate structure. Therefore, the local Chamber of Commerce filled this gap, and that is our major function. Some of the local initiative, the provincial work that we do, and the committee engagement are designed to benefit the whole community and not just the membership. I would also like to highlight that important information. And please note that your local Chamber of Commerce is federally incorporated in 1900. Before the city of Trail, so just as on our next slide, I would like to highlight a couple of the provincial work that our chamber takes up on. One being the chamber group insurance plan, which was developed by the Johnston Group and the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. We currently are offering group insurance plans to 67 small and medium-sized businesses in our district. Our advocacy work and policy development is also under provincial work. There are a couple of, actually one policy that I would like to highlight for you. The chamber have asked the government that it's time to expedite the inclusion of all ICI recyclables into the provincial recycling regulations. And that means that small businesses, as of right now, have to pay for their recyclables to be removed, especially cardboard and plastic, versus versus the public. So the Chamber of Commerce on a provincial level is working on lowering the cost of doing business in BC, which is one of the highest in Canada. So this is just one way of how we trying to achieve that. Another provincial work that I would like to mention that it is currently running is a securing small business rebate program. This program remains open until January 31st, 2025, so we still have some time. This program provides eligible commercial property crime and vandalism rebates and or to implement eligible preventative measures. This program just came out a couple of months ago. The uptake is not as big as we anticipated on the provincial level, but now I am locally working with Communities in Bloom, who takes care of the graffiti, the graffiti program, I think it's called. I'm not exactly sure the name of that program, where interested parties come together to remove graffitis from buildings. And I also had a conversation with the RCMP to ensure that they are also aware of this program, so then they can advise local business owners when something like that happens, and especially to try to convince them or inform them actually of the implementation of preventative measures, in example, cameras. The last one that I'd like to mention is the recovery advisory program that our chamber was running for 7 months during the pandemic. We were able to reach out directly to 150 businesses, but indirectly our reach is was able to cover all businesses, which is in our region over 1,000. On the next slide, I would like to mention some of the local initiatives that our chamber is running or have run in the past or planning on. One being a Think Local First campaign, which we started during the pandemic to bring awareness to our to the variety of our local business community and the offerings that they offer. That campaign was funded through Columbia Basin Trust, and we also had some federal grant for that. The Kootenay Teen Chef Club is ran through the Ready Grant program and also funded through private funders. Kootenay Coffee Festival and the Kootenay Health and Living Expo, again, funded through private funders. The Business After Business events, which again is one of the function of the local Chamber of Commerce. So every local Chamber of Commerce run these events. They are curated networking events. And again, I'd like to highlight it that most small and medium-sized businesses don't have the corporate structure to even afford an event like this. So that's why these networking events are put on the Chamber of Commerce and the importance of it to support the small businesses. This is the place for them to meet and network. And lastly, I would like to mention that the South Kootenay Tourism Management Plan is on its way, and it has been a long time coming. But we should be able to finish off the plan by the end of March. And currently we are in communication with Columbia Basin Trust and the provincial government to fund the implementation of this plan, which will include our 5 municipalities from Roslyn to Fruitvale, but Trail will be the placeholder, hopefully for the DMO. So this is the first time ever that is on the table now. And Destination BC is behind this plan and funding the development of the plan. The next slide, where I will just mention a couple of the committee engagements that the chamber is currently taking up. And this is again for you, this is just to demonstrate for you the work that the chamber is taking on, that it benefits the region and benefit all stakeholders, not only the membership. One being the Greater Trail Early Childhood Coalition Childcare Subcommittee, which is, I'm still learning that. I only been to one meeting so far, but it looks like that the chamber's role in this case, probably the policy development and advocacy work that we take on, where I can see that we are able to help out with. The Trail Health and Environment Committee, Community Safety Task Force, BC Winter Games 2026 Nomination Committee, the Regional Economic Resiliency Action Plan, and the Downtown Trail Improvement Committee that we currently taking in part. And some of these are obviously regional, but I'd like to mention the Downtown Trail Improvement Committee that is directly to work for trail, actually. And we were also interested of to be part of the 125th Anniversary Planning Committee, if we are invited. On the next page, I would like to speak to our board and provide you with some update in regards to our structure. We were able to secure a new director. That was my job over the summer, and that new director is now taking on the treasurer role. So we have a new treasurer. Through our efforts, we were able to bring one previous board of director back as a consultant to strengthen the board structure, and that person is Bill Van Men. Bless you. So the applications for recruitment for more board of directors is now open, and it is open until our next AGM in April. Financial reports have been submitted, and they are done for 2020, 21, and 22. We are on track to complete the financial report for 2023 on time. On the next page, on the next page here is the breakdown of requested core funding by municipalities. On the previous page, actually, yeah, that's okay. So 4 years ago, when we first started on this endeavor to ask the municipalities for core funding, the city of Rossland has came on board right away. The village of Fruitvale now, as of 2023, they are funding us. Now I'm here to ask the city of Trail to come on board and fund our core our core function. And on the next page, oh, do I have a next page?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's this one? Yes, so I had a conversation with Mr. McClure just last week. Our hope was to ask the city of Trail for core funding for 2024 as 2023 and 2024 as well. And after the conversation with Mr. McClure, this is our current ask. For 2022 and 2023, we are asking for granting aid 12,000 for each year, as that's how much funding we got in granting aid. And moving forward, start with 2024, we would like council to fund the chamber with through the economic development funding for $34,000 per year. And I think this is our last page. Thank you so much for your attention, and If you have any questions, I am hopeful that I'll be able to. If not, then I will get back to you with answers in writing.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'd just like to consult with our corporate officer on the time. Is there time to ask questions? We've exceeded our 10 minutes, so I'm just wondering what you recommend to do on that, Ms. Butler.
I would suggest having a question period.
Okay. So does anybody have any questions for Ms. Crest or Mr. Wyndham?
One question. Sure. One question.
Yes, go ahead, Counselor.
You were talking about recruiting more directors. How many people are currently on your board?
We have 4 board of directors
Okay.
and a consultant.
Okay.
Normally, a board of directors term is a minimum of 2 years. Unless they get an appointment like president, vice president, or treasurer, then they're expected to take on another 2 years.
Okay.
I really don't know what happened, whether it was COVID or the startup or coming out of it, but the chamber went through some problems with board of directors actually falling off and not completing their 2-year term. So it's not like we're happy with 4, we're happy with 12. I was asked to come back and quite frankly, I had some family issues. There was some illnesses in the family and I said I couldn't come back. Had I known that there was board of directors dropping off, I would have jumped back in because I think it's a valuable organization. So there has been some governance problems. And part of that is not getting the financial statements done on time in a timely manner for the governments to look at what's going right and what's going wrong. So yes, the financial statements are not good as they should be, but they're the honest truth of what happens when you have limited governments and trying to recover and make things go. I truly believe that the chamber is something that can move forward. I've already talked to a couple of people and they're interested in coming on board. Not saying committed for sure, but they said, tell me more and we'll look at it.
Thank you, Mr.
A
Wyndham.
challenge,
I think Counselor Hanson has a
Yeah.
question. Counselor
She
Hanson?
wants to answer further to that before I jump in.
Okay,
Is it further to
Yeah,
what she had said?
yeah, just the other challenge that the chamber faces, I feel when it comes to board of directors is that in our region, which is kind of unique, we have 4 economic development organizations and all 4 is in need of board of directors. So it's a challenge that way.
Thank you.
Counselor Hanson.
Okay, and I'm sorry, Ms. Crest and Mr. Wyndham, my questions are gonna be a little bit lengthy as I've
Yeah.
reviewed a bunch of your financials here. You know, I'm a firm believer in the Chamber of Commerce. I used to be on the Chamber of Commerce in my past life. I see that you've been paying for bookkeeping over the last number of years on your financials. However, no financials were done. Why?
No, the bookkeeping was done,
But no one filed financials.
or our treasurer, who we had.
We had
You
problems.
want
with-
to answer?
Oh,
Yeah,
there
okay.
there was some issues with one of our directors that was the treasurer.
Okay, and so the presidents didn't have oversight to ensure that the filing got done for financials?
Pretty well.
Okay, just because under the Corporation Canada, you guys are supposed to have a minimum of 8 directors, so technically you're not in compliance with your Corporations Act right now, okay. So I just also wanted to wonder why the increase in ask from 12,000 to now, you know, almost triple that for this year comparatively to the last couple of years of requests.
In the past, when the contract ended with the city of Trail in regards to the visitor center, running the visitor center, the city of Trail committed granting aid help to the Chamber of Commerce, but there was no recognition of economic development function. So the 12,000 was a continuum of the grant and aid that the city offered in previous years, and now we are asking for economic development funding, which is in the chart that I have provided is reflecting how many businesses we have in Trail, how many citizens we have in Trail, and the combination of that.
So would you think it not be fair to kind of break it down either one or the other, you know, by population? I mean, most people would register a business in Trail because it is kind of the biggest center as opposed to looking at both.
So
But
we,
like having it as just population based or just business license based, but I mean,
we pulled the two together and we
Mhm.
averaged the two, population and businesses. That's how we feel that we got to the most truthful number possible. Because if we just serving if we just ask for funding through the businesses, that's not true to Trail, because so many businesses are registered in Trail, but functioning everywhere throughout the whole region. So then we had to ask other municipalities as well in regards to those businesses and who they are supporting.
but it's almost kind of double dipping into Trail because then you've got the most population as well as the most business licenses. So the average is gonna structurally be higher regarding the areas.
Which is,
I mean, this is the ask, and if you want to change the formula, you can. The whole thing is how did we come up with it?
mhm.
So that's how we came up with it, but it doesn't mean that it's hard and fast if you decide to adjust it one way or the other.
Right.
It's
And
not,
it is hard, right? Because trailers still have the most businesses and the most population, right?
And so, just, sorry, guys, I'm just trying to wrap up a few other questions. My apologies. So you said that, Roslyn has already committed
Yes,
to this, the funding structure.
they are,
As-
yeah, so the funding structure was presented as it stands 4 years ago, and they are committed, but not with the full ask that it is on our as our ask.
Not what last, okay.
Yeah,
And I just, staffing, wages and benefits looked like they went up substantially over 2 years by 40-some-odd thousand dollars. Did you have an increase in staffing? Like
no,
added additional staff peoples or?
yeah, so no, the
Oh.
answer to that, no, we still, that has not increased. However, some of the grant funding, I think I mentioned the recovery advisory program, we put that funding into the staffing wages because that's how we paid that. That's why it was increased.
Okay,
And
and then,
that was exactly the same amount.
okay, and then just the only other two questions, I'll try to wrap this up here. Advertising and promotion, was substantially highlighted from 2020, the last year up 16,000. As well as event expenses from $4,000 to $43,000.
So as I mentioned, we have the local initiatives, and that is in reflection of all the grant funding that we secured from CBT and provincial and federal government to run the Think Local First campaigns. So we got the grant funding in certain years, and then we were running the programs for a year or a couple of years after that. So that's the increase. It's not the operation, but to delivering those programs that we got grant funding for.
Okay, and my last question is, how do you plan on ensuring that there is no deficit going forward? Like, what's the plan to increase the revenues?
Oh,
And
to
to be
increase the
self-sufficient.
revenues, so to increase the revenues, the board of directors have approved our budget moving forward for 2023, and there is no deficit reflected in that. We have, beside economic development funding from the municipalities, the chambers of commerce are designed to have their own funding streams. And one being the membership, which is only can be increased by so much, regardless of how great our retention rate is. And the other one is, the major one is the chamber group insurance plan that we get a kickback from the Johnston's group. So we have communications with our local representative who reside in Nelson to increase that amount. And so those are the two major ones, and we still hold a contract with the Tech Interpretive Center that we run. So those basically take care of the expenses. Our biggest ask is, or my biggest ask as the executive director is for the board to do its job, make sure that the financials are ready. So when there's an opportunity for grant funding or core funding request to the municipalities, then I can do my work on time, so we are not falling behind. And I got a not just a good feeling, but very strong core board members who are committed to that now that we have a new treasurer.
Thank you, that's all for my questions.
Thank you.
Any other questions for our delegation? I just have kind of one question. When do you anticipate you'll have your 2022 financials ready?
Before the AGM, which is scheduled for April.
Okay. And I'm saying that because I feel more comfortable, I think, looking at grant applications if I had a current financial report, you know, to kind of accompany where we're at. I'm also curious to know maybe, and we can speak to this now, the city's policy and practice on issuing grants that are past deadline. So we're looking at two here, one from 2022 and one from 2023. Do we not have a policy or practice where dealing with that kind of a situation, Mr. McGuire?
Well, it's always within council's prerogative, the policy, if we're looking at something, I mean, it's been a bit of an anomaly, I think, not only for the chamber, but also for the city, as we've gone through quite a transition just on getting and collecting all of the asks we kind of had one meeting this year, so that's not the kind of the normal process of kind of how this has gone in the past, so I would say there's a few things that are not maybe the standard way it's been done in the past. I do know that, you know, they did not get their request in 2022, and the timing of that, again, you got an election, you got a few things going on there, and they were also again waiting, unfortunately for them, to get their financial statements, which was part of the process, and then again for 2023, kind of working hard to get them, and then sort of getting them kind of after the fact sort of piece, but certainly within council's prerogative to make a decision on that, and whether or not that's one of those goals for council to say, okay, well, we can meet you here, and then going into 2024 on this ask, you know, it'll be part of a more robust or a part of a budget, a part of a conversation that is includes economic development and how council wants to fund it, and part of our budget process. So we would be back on track, I guess, not only for the chamber, but for the city.
Thank you. When is our deadline for applications for grants?
Well, it's kind of an ongoing.
It is?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that can make
Okay,
that challenging, right? So I don't know if you're up first, you know, like as the budget goes, how does one stick in?
But is it not fair to say for 2022, 2023, we've exhausted our grant monies?
We, on the grant aid, we had, Councillor Cashel, and again, but it's, the chamber was also sort of in a different category
Okay.
from the others, in the past, at least that's the way that it had been handled in the past budgets.
Okay.
So again, part of it is the possibility, there's an option, I guess, to make things sort of, get back on track, I guess is the best way I would say.
Okay, thank you very much. Unless there's no other questions, we can conclude this delegation presentation. Thank you, Ms. Kress.
Thank you
Mr.
very
Lynn.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll leave that glass for a while, I gotta close.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys. Have a good day.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. So we'll move on to 2.1 of the agenda. And that is school district number 20, the 2024 scholarship program. There's a recommendation before council. The council reaffirmed their support of the JL Crow Secondary School and Cooperative Education Scholarship Programs through the provision of two $650 scholarships, plus an additional two $250 scholarships to JL Crow Secondary School in 2024. I would like to, hopefully not speak out of turn here, but make a friendly amendment to that resolution. And I'd like to recommend, with council's consent, that the $250 scholarships be raised to $500, and that the $650 scholarships be raised to $1,000. That's my amendment recommendation.
I'll second that.
Do we have a mover? And then a second, how does that work?
You moved it.
I moved it.
You moved it.
There you go.
Second.
And she seconded. Thank you, Counselor.
Amendment. You called the question on the amendment.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I'm calling the question on the amendment. We have it, we have it seconded by Counselor Benson. All in favor? And it's carried.
And now
unanimously.
you Sorry, through the chair, you now need to call the question on the table as amended.
All right, I will call the question as amended. And that is that council reaffirm their support of the JL Pro Secondary School and cooperative education scholarship programs through the provision of two $1,000 scholarships, plus an additional two $500 scholarships to the JL Pro Secondary School in 2024.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Did you say two $1,000?
Yes,
Get two.
so they're currently
Times
two
1,000.
650, so we're just.
I see, okay, yeah.
So, we have, a motion and a seconder by Counselor, Martin, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, council. And lastly, we have item 3.3. The,
Man, I just didn't know with council, I apologize.
Oh.
Just, didn't know if we had gone through what, where we ended up with, the,
Timber.
yes, sorry, I apologize.
no apology necessary.
I know that they had brought it forward, we may not have had a motion, but I didn't know if I mean, I'm not saying they have to, but, just the fact that they had come here, had their kind of request for the 12,000 for 2022 and 2023, and whether or not council was willing to make a decision on that.
Counselor, Martin?
I think it would be prudent on our part, as the deputy mayor mentioned, that I'd like to see the 2023 financials before we make a decision. If we could, make a motion to accept the presentation and defer the financial side,
Okay,
it's just something I open to a question.
And further to that, Councilor Martin, I think it prudent of us to look at where we want to spend money in economic development as a whole and how that would be broken down based on all of the funding requests for economic development before deciding to.
fair enough. And again, part of it was, that's the 2024 ask, I think. I just didn't know, and so that's the same, if I'm hearing you correctly, Council Martin, is that, sort of your sense is that, council would prefer to see the 2023 statements, financials before looking at what funding they would provide for 2022 and 2023?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Through the chair, are we looking at two separate motions then? Are we looking at the motion to defer the decision on the 2022 and 2023 request of 12,000 until the 2023 financials have been submitted, and then a follow-up motion?
I'd like to thank you, Ms. Butler. Personally, I'd like to see them broken down. The 2022 and the 2023, I'm prepared to make a motion that they be not accepted because I think that they're just too far after the deadline. That's my position. I think it would be unfair to other applicants that put motions, similar requests in that are denied on those grounds. So my feeling, just to promote fairness, is that they're coming in too late on those asks. And, we're looking at 2024. I think we should leave it at that. And I'd like to see a clean financial statement, a fresh financial statement to support that ask.
From 2023.
Yes. So I don't know how to word that if we want to make a motion.
All right,
Thank God, Tracy.
through the chair, I believe that Councillor Martin put on the table a motion to defer the decision until the 2023 financials had been submitted. And I believe that was a decision on the 2022 and 2023 ask.
I can can I remove that?
You,
motion?
you can make a friendly
Yes, thank you.
amendment to that, yeah,
As you said, thank you.
as I said.
We'll take that back and go with what the
I go with
deputy mayor Cashel's recommendation.
So my initial motion was to not accept the 2022-2023 ask for $12,000 each because they're just over the time limit. And so that would be the motion that I'm making.
now we need a seconder.
And all in favor of that?
Can
motion?
I ask a question?
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
we answered
course,
question.
of course.
Well,
Councilor Martin.
I just want to make sure we're going this route that the city, and no disrespect to anybody within the city, that we haven't faulted here and not given their request. And the only reason I'm asking is because I don't know.
I would say that part of, what we do ask for in the application is financial statements.
Yeah.
Right, and so I would say those particular ones were not brought forward because we were waiting
Yeah.
on.
Okay.
Those, they did get them on the 15th of December, but we had already kind of tried to pull council back in just for a meeting on that. We decided not to, but they said that we would bring it forward, so, that would be one thing that would be maybe, on their side saying, hey, wait a second, maybe, because we were so close to the end of the year, maybe I should have really, gone after you guys to try to get together between the week of Christmas to kind of look at this in that time fashion, so I can see where there could be some, question as to, they will, CAO said, why don't you put it into 2024, just because of the timing of where we were at with meetings and that sort of thing, so that's one thing that I guess I would say, for sure, that could be a concern of the chamber and others that might view, kind of how that ended up this year. I mean, again, try and work, there wasn't like a case of them not trying to get the financial statements, done, they were having some struggles getting it, so that's one, and again, if they had been, a week or so earlier, then, we would have had that in front of you in that time, in a camera, so that's, again, that would be one that for me, like I said, when they showed up on the 7/15, I was like, we're not having a meeting until the new year.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Any other questions? Councilor Wilson, do you have a question?
I just, maybe it's just me, but have we seen these where it does go back in years for their?
Well,
Is
again,
this the first time, I feel like it's the first time
yeah,
we've
it's
seen this.
fair
I think I'm just confused on.
Yeah, well, fair, Counselor Wilson, my point, I guess, just being that, I don't have any experience, I would be Miss Lucchini, if she's got any history of showing back on whether or not we did it. And again, I'd say part of it is the timing component, in that if they had been a few weeks earlier, we would have had it in 2023. And because of that sort of, the timing of when they finally got them finished, yes, 2023. But me saying, hey, we need to push that because our council's not meeting again until January, so that's just one thing. I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Couple questions.
Yes.
And one, actually, I'm hoping Tia or Councilor Hanson can answer. Their fiscal year end was December, is that?
It's not a case of fiscal year.
I was just thinking, like, if they did cut, like, I'm almost wondering if we should separate the two then, if they did come in 2023,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? If we could separate those. Because similar to Councilor Capital, I'm not comfortable giving a grant and aid to something, in 2022. 2023, as they did come in that year, and I understand that they've been having some difficulties with, a treasurer, but I was hoping Councilor Hanson could explain a little bit more about with only 4 people on their board, what does that mean?
So to my understanding, I mean, they are, with their corporation, I don't know if were able to file. Their filing is 2024's is not due yet. So their annual statements of filings is actually only every 2 years for
Okay.
filing. So technically, from what this appears to me, based on their Corporations Canada registration from the Federal Corporation Information, is that they're only in arrears kind of one set of filings. And to that, I would, further to say, I think 2023, if it's still within kind of our frame of reference for our budget, that we can do it, that I would propose to amend it to do 2023's, but unfortunately, 2022 is past the point, I think, but 2023 we could potentially approve, in my opinion.
All right, thank you, Councilor Hanson. Do we need another amendment to the amendments that we've already been
I
done?
would suggest perhaps through the chair, a friendly amendment that the Chamber of Commerce request for grant in aid funding in the amount of $12,000 for 2022 be denied. And further, that the Chamber of Commerce request for grant and aid funding in the amount of $12,000 for 2023 be approved.
Lovely.
I can make that motion.
Okay, Councilor Hanson's made that motion. Do you have a
That can
second?
that can just be a friendly motion.
Friendly amendment.
To your motion on the floor.
Thank you very much, Ms. Butler. And all in favor? Carried unanimously.
And again, you know, Councilor Hanson, you were talking about wanting to have their other requests be looked at in a fuller picture of that, and if you want to direct council to that.
Yes. I'll be happy to make that motion. So, for their request for funding for 2024, I'd like to defer that until we have a review of all economic development funding and then make a thoughtful decision based on how we want to spend that, those requests.
I'll second that.
All in favor of that motion? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Councilor Hampton. Thank you, Council.
And thank you, Deputy Mayor, for allowing me to get back.
I apologize for not,
No,
maybe including you in the initial conversation, Mr. McGuire. It was not intentional.
Understood.
Okay, I guess I keep forgetting that I'm,
Well, there's one more, isn't it?
well, we covered, oh yes, thank you, Councilor Wilson, for being on top of this and assisting me in this. 3.1, the trail pipe ban, request for rental waiver. Can I have somebody move that request? Councilor Hanson, seconded by Councilor Wilson, all in favor? Carried unanimously. I'd like to call for an adjournment, and so Councilor Wilson, Councilor Hanson, all in favor. Motion to carry unanimously. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.